We're back once again. It's the World Cup show right here on iDiski Dine with Cox and Obs. And we are back to give you everything to do with the World Cup, to keep you updated with what has been happening throughout the World Cup that is taking place in the USA, Canada, and Mexico. And if there's anything that you know, Bafana Bafana, we've played 2 games so far. And unfortunately, Cox and I have not been able to give you a breakdown of our thoughts of those 2 games. But today, you're at the right place to get all of that information. Cox, welcome back. The last time I was sitting here with Chuck Songo, so it's good to see you.
Yeah, when I'm feeling cold, Maro, when I chab because of the World Cup. Yeah, man, it's good to be back.
Chuck actually sent a message. I actually spoke. You saw the episode released of Fortune Makaring.
Sure.
On iDiski Time.
Mfana
Israel. So Chuck sent a message about the Pizzo Musimani thing with the knees.
Oh, yeah, Mato.
Yes. But
no.
Do check out the episode of Fortune Makaring. It is on the platform. It is making some decent numbers so far. So do make sure to check it out and enjoy the conversation between ourselves and Fortune. But let's start off, Cox, with getting your highlight moment from the World Cup so far.
A highlight moment from my World Cup, whether it be on the field, outside, it has to be Cabo Verde.
Cabo Verde.
I know
yes, sir.
we know why outside the field of play. The supporters have been great. They've been awesome.
You're married, man.
No, I am.
Oh.
And don't get me wrong.
Oh, okay.
I'm just throwing shout out to every supporter of Cabo Verde. The
Every corner.
Ladies,
yes.
They've been great. They've been supporting their
Even
team.
the goalkeeper's mom.
100% finally getting that visa, being
Yeah.
present.
Yeah.
Remember we spoke about getting back a Padinyana and I to be there. So
Sure.
they have to be. I mean, that 2-2 draw against Uruguay.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it. Now I was writing these guys off.
Last night.
But that's the thing about them. You never expect anything with them.
Yeah.
And they always seem to do better than what everybody else is expecting.
Indeed.
Yeah.
No, they do. My highlight goes to 3 different goalkeepers.
Sure.
Since I'm a goalkeeper myself, I'll start off with Vuzinha. Gave a brilliant performance in the first game that Cape Verde played against Spain. They ended up 0-0.
Yeah.
The second goalkeeper is Eli Room. And a special mention to Eli Room because he's the Curaçao goalkeeper.
Yeah.
He made 15 saves in that game. I'm just forgetting who they're playing against.
Highlight package.
The highlight package was 5 minutes long, but they couldn't get all 15 of those saves in there. So it speaks to the performance that he gave. But a special mention to him because the story about Curaçao as a nation, most of the players that are playing for Curaçao come from Netherlands, have a background with Netherlands.
Sure.
And how the national team of Curaçao came together. Patrick Kluivert, the legend from Netherlands, actually was the one who set up a lot of the systems for Curaçao football. And one of the people that he used to be a mouthpiece, to go to other players and to speak to them who have Curaçao descent in the Netherlands was Eli Room. So him, the goalkeeper,
scout.
He was the scout, unofficial position, but he was the scout for the team. And right now, he's, of course, the leader of the team. And we saw the brilliant performance he gave. And then the last goalkeeper is Ali Zera, the goalkeeper for Iran, pulling off a magnificent save just last night. It looked like it was going in, my guy. Just pulled out a hand last minute, boom. And that save was made.
As a former goalkeeper, you're excited.
I'm a current goalkeeper, my guy.
We don't know about that, but it's fine.
Let's get into the news. Let's speak about current and formers, but coaches this time around.
Sure.
Formerly, coach of Tunisia was sacked, of course, after the first encounter, the first loss in the World Cup, 5-1 defeat that Tunisia suffered. The coach was sacked. They brought in Hervé Renard. The man that we on the African continent, we know him as the man with the magic wand.
Sure.
He's done it so many times, lifting the AFCON trophy with 2 different nations. Not working out for him this time around. 4-0.
Just an interesting stat. I mean, that guy's a journeyman. He's been with 6 African countries. As head coach, 5. Looking at Zambia, we know he's won with them. Angola, Ivory Coast, Morocco, and Tunisia. And Ghana, he was there, Teddy Cole, but it shows the amount of experience he has, and it shows why it is that they thought he'd be able to come in and stop gap. But it didn't work out. Actually, if you look at the net loss, it's the same. Because Kai 5-1, Kai 4-0. So my question was that, do they now fire him or do they carry on? And it shows of the disarray that they have in the squad. The minute you start panicking, I always said that was a panic move. The tournament is gone. What is it that you are trying to salvage now? Because the people that you thought you are going to be going for third best position, that's Sweden. They've humiliated you. So now you know that you're going to be going against the big guns. Let the systems be in place. Going into this World Cup, they drew 1-1 against Brazil. So the very same coach that you're saying, okay, now you're not good enough. He was good enough to do other things. Allow a man to have a bad day at the office and allow him to recover from the mistakes. It's a tournament after all.
You know what I picked out, Cox? I had to do a little bit more research
Sure.
regarding the sacking of coaches at the World Cup. It's not the first time Tunisia actually sacked a coach at the World Cup.
Sure.
They did it back in 1998. And in that year, there was 3 other coaches that were sacked in the World Cup. Carlos Alberto Pereira was one of the coaches. He was coaching Saudi Arabia in 98. He was sacked. He was one of the 4 coaches, but I forget the other 2. But for Tunisia, I think what Ivory Coast got right with their sacking of their coach in the AFCON in 2023 was that the person who replaced the coach was the assistant coach. He was already in there, so he understood, you know, how you know, the players and all those things. And I think as an assistant coach, and we've seen it with a lot of players when you have conversations with them, is that the assistant coach is the one that pretty much is the connection between the players and the coach.
Yes.
You know, so
and that's the assistant coach's role then in the team. In every team, the assistant coach is that bridge between the technical team as well as the players. Because that's why a lot of, if you look Buzungu and Dolly and them, they thought at some point, because they couldn't understand this whole manager-coach thing, they thought Rulani was actually the one that's coaching the team. Because they can see him, no, he was giving instructions this all the time. This is what we want. You know? So yeah.
Run us through the group standings. I know that Tunisia are currently at the bottom of the standings. We've got Sweden in there as well.
We've got Netherlands topping the group.
Yeah.
You know, you've got Japan being second. And you look at Netherlands, for example, they were able to get goals, but everybody's getting goals from the source, the very same source, which is Tunisia. It looks like they're going to be giving away for everyone. Let's hope Japan will also take advantage of the whole situation. But if there's one thing that I trust is Japan. You look at those formations that they played from number 1
to number 45.
And when I that speaks of their memory, and that speaks of them being thorough. So Tunisia right now, the first African team to be eliminated. A lot of people said Bafana Bafana is the worst.
The worst, yeah.
But you know,
we weren't even the worst from match day 1.
We were never. But now agenda must agenda. Allow the agenda to agenda. So Tunisia find themselves at the bottom with -8. And I know goal difference doesn't play much of a thing, unless it's the third best team. But now Japan and Netherlands, they're tied on +4 at the moment because of where it is. So. Japan pretty much in good position right now. I think you know, they've put myself. I wouldn't be surprised to see finishing top of that group.
Remember, we had Super Strikers, a comic book Super Strikers coming to the newspapers. They were shakes. In Japan, and this was something that I found out yesterday when I was doing a bit of research. Was that in Japan, after I think it was 90, they hosted 2002, the 2002 World Cup. And they didn't do all too great in that World Cup. And one thing that they vowed was that they're going to dominate world football one day. And the first thing they started with was to create a cartoon that was pretty much about a group of kids who had the ambition to win the World Cup for Japan one day. And eventually, of course, you know how cartoons are. They eventually went on to win the World Cup in the cartoon. But it just saying that maybe we should bring back shakes and super strikers.
Yeah, I don't want the super strikers.
You know what I mean? For the kids.
Because it does plant that seed with kids. Because you have to start with the next generation. I won't start with you, Obi, as a current keeper. So I have to start with the kids and make them believe. And once you've won the psychological warfare, you know that anything else now, a kid would want to go and play. Like every Japan kid now goes and trains because they think one day we'll win the World Cup. So it will trickle down, get domino effect. I like how they think, those guys. They never leave anything to chance.
No, they leave nothing to chance. But a country that left nothing to chance was Canada. Of course, we heard that Thomas Partey was not receiving any sort of favors regarding whether he's going to play for Ghana in the World Cup in Canada. You're not getting that visa granted in Canada. But a player, Eli Wahi, of course, the striker for Cote d'Ivoire, 23 years of age, he's been granted a visa. And the reason why it wasn't granted initially was because of the ongoing case that he has out in France, which is relating to match fixing.
So the difference between the two, and maybe you look at with Partey's situation, is the fact that formally he has been charged. So the UK authorities, they've put a red flag on his name to say, okay, this is how we go about it. There's still a case that's pending. And yes, I know you mentioned the Mendy case, and I know it's unfair on Partey, especially the fact that he's going into a World Cup, he's representing his country.
Don't run past the Mendy.
I'm just running past it. I don't want to run past it because, if anything, it has taught us a lot of things that are happening. But what I want us to focus on, because I don't want to focus on the merit of the case of Thomas Partey's case. You know, there could be similarities. I just want to focus on the reason why he was not granted entry into Canada, because that's what we are arguing right now. So him not being granted entry, that's where they're coming from. If it was any other person, they would have looked at the same scenario, they would have looked at the same factors and say, no, hold up, you're not allowed to get into the country. migration. It has nothing to do with football fans. And that's why you have to see that systems, especially in our continent, our systems get lagged a bit because it's football people. It's, so FIFA, they can't do much in terms of this one. And if you could be in a situation where Omar was not granted entry into the US based on his affiliates and the people maybe that he associates with, then surely we have to look and say, if this is the case with a person A, person B also, which is Thomas Partey in this case, should not be granted. The difference though, you look at Wahi, is the fact that nothing formally has been put forward. Yes, shady characters. Yes, there's a lot of things that are coming forth. And you look at the betting scandal that has come across, that he's been linked. There's a possibility of him being linked with a ring of betting companies. But he hasn't been charged. So perhaps maybe he was charged, then that would have been. But the fact that they picked it up and initially they denied him entry, it shows the consistency. Because there had to be special authorization that came in afterwards to say, we guarantee here are the processes that we put in place.
I fear that, and I hear the merits of immigration and all of that, and maybe I should also do my own research regarding Canada's immigration and why they couldn't accept for Thomas Partey to go in. My thing is, when are we going to learn though, as world football generally, to say, because you're speaking about the Mendy case. Mendy was at the height of his career, playing for Manchester City, a team that was dominating English football, and that went on to win the Champions League. He could have been there to win that Champions League, but because of false allegations that were put up and false allegations that were taken very seriously, like we're doing with Thomas Partey, and granted, it should be taken very seriously. We then found out months later, even years later, that Mendy was actually,
he was acquitted.
He was acquitted.
Yes. So it took away from him.
It took everything away. It took
From
away
his
his
career,
life. It took everything.
Yes.
So we're doing the same thing with Thomas Partey here because we don't know if what the case eventually what the verdict is going to be at the end of the case or at the end of the trial. So I think we just need to be a little bit more careful with these types of things.
There should be a special case where special permission is granted for him to play a match and play it, and that's it. If need be, maybe leave afterwards. You know how they're treating the whole Iranian team?
I mean, I think that would have been exactly how Ghana would do, right? Because they're flying in, they're not camping in Canada, right? So that would have been pretty much the same case. But like I said, perhaps there's a bit more research that needs to be done on the immigration case, and I hear your point.
And you also don't want to have this case being used now, because you know how politically things work.
No, it is going to be used
as
president.
I'm saying being used against a team. Like, for example, I see an Obi might be a problem as a footballer. Now let's try him. Because questions like that are going to come up. You don't want to find yourself in that position. I get what you mean.
We'll wait and see what happens with that. But another thing that caused a lot of backlash, and I'm going to read this quote. And look, Cox, if anything, you're a father. I'm a father myself. And I think one of the most special things of being a dad is witnessing the birth of your child. And look, my spouse was always on the thing of, I need your support, I need you there. And she was always saying this because she could see that my work life is demanding. I'm never there for the small things, So this one thing, she just needs me to be there to support her, to get her through this. However, there is a French journalist by the name of France Piron, a lady who actually is denying if it was up to her, rather, to make the decision, she's denying Jeremy Doku the opportunity to go and see his firstborn, his wife rather, give birth to his firstborn. And I think that is, I don't know, Cox, how to go about this conversation, because like I'm saying, it's a woman saying this. We tried to look up whether she's got a bit of family life. She's a bit secretive about it on her social media platforms. But maybe I should read the quote first before we get into it.
Please do.
And this is what she says. She says, "You have to realize that it's truly a privilege to participate in a World Cup. True. It's an incredible joy," as she says. "There are hundreds of footballers who would kill to be in your place. It might never happen again in your life. It's truly a special moment, a childhood dream coming true. And you're going to leave all of that to be present for the birth of your child, which is a disgusting moment." Excuse my language, as she says, "where the father is useless. He's just an extra."
It's very unfortunate, especially now that she wants to downplay the role of the father, because you think physically might be useless, but how are you a person to try now and deem the emotional side of things? Because if you're saying your spouse was the one that said, I would like you for you to be there emotionally, for me to support me emotionally, how do we then downplay that thing? It's Doku's first child. And I'm not saying if it's the third or the fourth, it's not going to be. It's going to be any different. I'm saying he must stay. And also another thing we need to take into account is the fact that we really forget that this is work for these guys. This is an everyday type of thing where they have to go to the office and clock in, and that's it. They're allowed things like paternity leave. They're allowed things like, family responsibilities. These guys have their funds, their resources that are made available. Especially from where the country that he comes from, Belgium, they really prioritize football. What says he was not going to be able to go and be there present and then come back? Yes, and understand the spouse is, or the mother of the child is the person that would understand the position that Doku is in. It's very unfortunate that you have these kind of comments, especially coming from a lady. I find it very, very unfortunate. As a father, I understand why Doku would want to be there, and I highly support Doku wanting to be there, especially for the partner.
Indeed, Jeremy Doku did come out to say that, he was actually speaking to the Belgian Federation in advance because, his wife will be giving birth or should be giving birth around the period of the quarterfinals. So he is saying that if Belgium are to reach the quarterfinal stages, he's just asking for permission to be able to go and witness the birth of his child. And like Cox is saying, could have been a possibility that he goes there today, witnesses the birth of his child, and he decides that, let me come back and represent my nation. And we've seen that happen before multiple times for players playing for their clubs. So I don't doubt that it would have been a possibility for Jeremy Doku and his national team. But let's move on to the last story that we have. Lamine Yamal.
Yeah.
He's the star boy. Currently, everyone is talking about him. Scores his first goal on debut for Spain in the World Cup.
And you have to remember that this is a dream that he publicly spoke about. He said he would like to have a World Cup where he's remembered, especially at his age.
Yeah.
He joins an elite group of Messi, Pele, that's what we are told. Yes, so so you have to look at the fact that Lamine, with the amount of controversy surrounding him, especially at this age, what he needs is to put big performances not every single time, but the majority of the time that he comes on the field. Talent-wise, we can never question it. And the only way he's going to continuously silence the critics is him putting out big performances. This is a perfect platform for him. I tout him as one of the players to look out for this tournament, and he's done that. He's on the right track. Block out the noise. Time to reset. It's now time to take on Spain and put Spain on his shoulders. Because Spain, they're always in need of that poster boy. To look at that, and this is fertile ground for him, man. Like, it couldn't have happened to a better player, and I'm excited. And I'm excited mostly for world football because it's taking a new direction. Likely the big stars are going to be leaving the game. In the next World Cup, they're not there. So the likes of Boyamal, you're going to be looking at the Mbappe, you're going to be looking at them. So I really, really enjoy it when these big-name players come out and say, we're raising our hand, especially saying goodbye to these legends.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see if Yamal can actually do it, because in the 2023 Euros, what was different for Spain was that they had Yamal on the right and they had Nico Williams on the left, and on-form Nico Williams on the left. And unfortunately, right now, they only have on-form Yamin, instead of having both of these on-form players.
And we know their relationship.
So maybe Spain might not be as favorites, but let's wait and see what happens in the tournament, because there's a long way to go still in this FIFA World Cup tournament. And remember that right here in South Africa, Spain lost their first game of the tournament and went on to win it at the end of the tournament. So, hey, you can never count out Spain. But let's move into a team that we just can't count out, no matter how bad things are looking. Even if we lost that first game, we are believing that we can make it to the round of 16. Yeah. Round of 32 at least.
Round of 32. Yeah, no, I understand. There's a lot of football that you have to watch. And when you speak about the World Cup, you already think of numbers. Yeah. That's how it is.
Yeah.
Round of 32, we should be there, man, definitely. Looking at the performance, I'm really disappointed we didn't win that match. But I'm positive in the fact that how we played and how we applied ourselves. I've always been here and been critical that if you're going to lose a match, not having lost your identity as well. You can't lose both. Yeah. So in that opening match, we lost esteem, identity. There was just a lot of things that we lost, and then there was, rightfully so, there was banter coming in our way.
Sure.
So this time around, we're there. We should have scored a lot more goals. There was a time where Czechia was just comfortable to watch us play football. And perhaps maybe that's where we need to be more alert to say, okay, we're going to face situations where a team will park the bus. We don't find ourselves in that situation
we don't.
More often. And perhaps maybe that's why that moment caught us by surprise.
And I really think with the Czechia game, with the outlook of the fact that they parked the bus, for me, it gave me the feeling that Czechia is just as scared of us as much as we are scared of them. And for the mere fact that they got a goal in the first 5 minutes is what allowed them to be able to sit back and pull it back
and show their true colors. This is how
they
disciplining.
play.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel the exact same way, that we could have stolen the game. Even at the end, we had opportunity to steal the game. And perhaps maybe Rele starts in this next game with Tebogo Mokoena not being there.
Definitely really has to start this time around, even though Hugo is not a huge believer of a number 10 role, if it's not Tembazwane. I know, but this three midfield, I always thought is going to put us at an advantage offensively. However, it puts us at a disadvantage because he's looking at it from a defensive point of view. He's always wanting his two middle fielders out of the three to be dropping a 6. And that kind of creates a problem now. And it offensively, we find ourselves with so many gaps moving forward. It's an opportunity to really put out I'll say a 6, 7 out of 10. It's something that you can build on. I would like for Rile to be there. He takes the jersey number 10. He's a player that every South African is going to be speaking about, and every South African is going to be putting his hopes on. Rile, for big moments, especially for Bafana, he has not been there, and I would like for him to take this opportunity and run with it. Yeah. This is his time. Unfortunate situations happen where now you find yourself in a position where you have to sink or swim, and this is one of them. It's a must-win game against an organized, South Korea. Yeah. We can't find ourselves in any other position than we have to win this match.
Sure.
So really, Mfana's Chaba, no, he has to pull up. Man.
I feel like there's some things that are not questionable, or that we shouldn't be questioning rather heading into this game. Sure. Is a start for Osman Apollos.
Yeah.
A start for Rele.
Granted.
A start for Jaden Adams. A start for Mbata. And I think maybe the question that we could be having is up top, because we've seen both Ikram Reynolds, we've seen also Lyle Foster. Do we then perhaps say, Wanasesi gave us a good cameo when he pulled up, not only in this game, but the Cameroon game that we lost as well. He came on and he scored that goal. So 100%. Is he perhaps the one that should be starting for us?
No, I've always felt that Wanasesi is more effective coming on as a sub for Bafana Bafana. He's able to read the game. He's able to understand his role, and he's able to effectively, put out and stamp his authority when it's in that match. Let's not get too excited by the fact that he's had a good game in that. He had a good game because of where he came from. I feel that we can always start with Ikram. Ikram has not been bad. Let's be honest. He's done the work that was needed for him to do. And that is always going to allow Wanasesi to come in and be as effective as it should be, because Ikram will press you the whole day. Sure. He'll make defenders tired the whole day. Sure. And that gives an opportunity for Wanasesi to come in later on and get those moments. So let's not try and fiddle too much with it. It worked with it worked with Czech. Let's not panic and get too excited around the moment. Sure. Let's allow our team to be where they are right now. My only criticism was the fact that we never expected that low block, and it came. I don't think we'll get a low block with South Korea, considering the fact that they've lost against Mexico. Yeah. So they'll be going for goals as much as we would also want to be going for goals. So that's something we need to guard against. However, my red flag says he might bring on Ustol. He's a huge fan. Hugo is a huge fan of Ustol. He's made it known. Yeah. He's not even going to try and hide it. Sure. So, yes, I heard you mentioning Bata, but Bata might be a casualty, unless, of course, he goes with that trio. And now that means Rile will be affected.
We'll have to wait and see what happens. Hugo Broos is a man to surprise us with these lineups every now and then. But quick look at the guys that we're playing against. I mean, we've spoken about their pace, their team that are running nonstop. Sure. And I think that's why they were able to get the advantage over Czechia compared to us. We didn't make Czechia run enough. I felt like we should have, and we had the right people to do that. We had Maseko on the flanks. We had Apollos on the other flank. So we had, the right material to make it happen, to make this team run. However, we're coming up against a team that is going to make us run as well. And I'm looking at the left and the right wing. On the left, they've got the experience of Song Heung-min. And on the right-hand side, they've got the youngster, Lee Kang-in, who's currently, of course, with PSG, has been incredibly pivotal in, of course, coming off the bench for PSG. Yeah. But in this game, he's going to be important for us, for them, rather. Modao on the right back to close Son. Modiba on the left.
Modao has not, and I'll be honest, I'm the biggest fan of Modao. Modao has not had a World Cup worthy of Khuliso Modao.
I don't know another right back that can sit in. Unfortunately.
He starts. All I know is he starts. All I'm saying, maybe it's a challenge that I'm putting out to him to say, we need the Khuliso, because we know you have not even tapped into 70% of Khuliso Modao. Perhaps maybe there are things that are happening outside, maybe personally, that we don't know about because we take it lightly that these things could affect, but it hasn't. Also, I'll let him get away with the Mexico game because of the fact that it was tempered a lot by the technical area. So The match that I'll be too critical of him is the Czech game, because I'm expecting to see more Khuliso offensively in the final third. I know Khuliso is not going to offer me much. However, now he's going to be tested. Now we know that, okay, if there's a time that we need a Khuliso, especially with the absence of Mukwen, this is now. They're going to go to the side. We don't have to worry about heights. They're not going to whip in crosses. These guys get tagatarona. If anything, they're shorter than us, because always we go into matches having to worry about the factors that make the opponent great, instead of having to worry about what it is that makes us great, which always puts us in a disadvantageous area. So I'm saying let's move forward right now. Khuliso Mudawi, we're going to need a big performance. Obri Mudiba, I'm going to need a big performance from him. Yes, Fatigue could have also played a game, because let's take into consideration the fact that these guys come out from AFCON back to back to back to back. You know, they've been playing matches non-stop. These guys have not had a rest since end of season last year, where they were playing the Club World Cup, and it's been throughout. But if there's a big performance that I think they can put out, it's this time around.
Have to wait and see what happens, man. We hope that Bafana Bafana will do the most and get an important 3 points in this encounter, because it's the only result that can take us anywhere if we want to make it into the last 32 of the World Cup. We need 3 points in this game against South Korea, so do get behind the boys. But last but not least, a team that has been doing slightly better than us has to be Ghana. And in fact, they're doing incredibly better than us, because for them to get the 3 points in the World Cup, they had to beat dear Panama.
Sure, it's slightly better than us. It's like, that's when you see that football really is a game of, sometimes it's a game of luck if you look at it, because you look at how Ghana won that match. It was their first match. It was written a draw all over. Sure. They were not as cohesive as I was expecting them to be. Big performances of big players, we were not getting it. But they got the result. Yeah. And that's all that matters. Next World Cup, we'll be talking about how Ghana were able to win their World Cup, their opening match in the World Cup. And it's going to go in there and form part of the stats pack. So if there's a team, though, that I always said, it's a World Cup team, this is the Ghana. I'm taking into consideration the fact that England, they don't really perform well when they play against African teams that are solid, African teams that, that are highly ranked. So it's a probability now for Ghana to say, let's go in there, let's get our chances. They've never faced each other in the in the World Cup. Yeah. I could be mistaken, but yeah, they've never faced each other in the World Cup. They have the personnel that play in their league. They know exactly how their players operate. So if there's a time, I don't think they'll beat England though, because the quality of England, it's a semi-final quality. Ghana's strength right now is the fact that they have a coach who understands everything, how it works, and they has experience in big games. That is Coach Carlos Queiroz. Yes, he's a former South African coach. Yes, he's coached a lot of teams. He's transformed them. The Iranian team, he's putting them into world stage. So their biggest star would be Carlos Queiroz, one of the oldest coaches in the World Cup. 4 oldest coaches, including our coach.
I was about to say, I must also give props to Roger Dessau, who's also in the technical team with.
Roger Dessau will always be there.
Dessau, we have to give him props. I mean, he's in that technical team with Ghana. So I think Thomas Tuchel, though, with this England team, like you're saying, they're semi-final quality. And I feel that I've always felt like from the beginning of time when he was appointed as the England head coach, the first thought was that this guy's going to win the World Cup. Yeah. Although I did feel a bit shaken by the squad selection when the World Cup came about, it did dwindle my hopes for them to win the World Cup. But I still feel like England are a team to be reckoned with.
They're definitely a team to be reckoned with. The first match that they played, they also stamped their authority. I think they did really well against that Croatian team. And they are not a small team that they beat. It's not a Mickey Mouse team that they beat. So for them to even score those 4 goals, it tells you they can only get better from here onwards without those players that everybody else would have expected, a Cole Palmer being there, Foden being there. Sure. But they get the work done. And if there's one thing that Tuchel will do is, whether it's pretty, whether it's ugly, he'll get the work done. I'm speaking from experience as a Chelsea supporter. He will get the work done.
This man started Noni Madueke, my man. And I was like, what? Noni Madueke starting in the World Cup. So, hey, man, take nothing away from him. They've done an incredible job. But last but not least, the last conversation, we're stopping by DR Congo. Fumbu. DR Congo pulling up against Colombia. Big game. Luis Diaz on one flank. Johan Wissa leading the front line for Congo. Where do you see this one going? And firstly, speak on Congo, the journey that they've had to get to the World Cup, the fact to bounce back from the death of African football.
Yeah.
You know, when there was no TP Mazembe
Sure.
in CAF football.
Sure.
Now all of a sudden there's a phoenix once again. You know, TP Mazembe's women's team are winning the Women's CAF Champions League. And now you see TP Mazembe back as well, the men's side back on the fray of African football. The national team, they're not leaving themselves behind as well.
The national team, we have to give props, proper props to Sebastian Desabre. You have to start there. It starts with the coach. Once you have somebody that knows what they're doing, then you're able to take it there. You said, I must give you how it is. I must give you the pathway in terms of how it is they found themselves in the World Cup. And I look at the fact that they had to get out of a Senegal group.
Yeah.
There was a time they were leading that group comfortably so. And things just took a turn when they played Senegal at home. I remember the fans were rioting. They were not happy because they had gotten to a point where they're comfortable. Yes, South Africa will beat their chest and say, we have managed to go to the World Cup and beat a Nigerian team. But we have to take into account the fact that this DR Congo, they would have to take pride in the fact that they had to beat the very same Nigerian team in a knockout game.
Yeah.
So that is not a small thing to do.
Yeah.
And not only that, you are not done. So their World Cup started a long time ago. When everybody else was preparing to go to the World Cup, they already started playing in the World Cup. They find themselves now in the World Cup, and you can tell that they've played the most number of games in terms of the qualification in the African countries. They look like one of the most organized.
Sure.
I was not surprised with their opening match results because they have the personnel and they have the buy-in of the coach. And you see all these players that are playing in Europe now, they have the buy-in and they want to come in and represent their countries. They say, okay, hold up, maybe they're leaving us in England, maybe they're not choosing us elsewhere. But the likes of Wen Bisaga, they say, let's go home and go and play for that thing. And once you have experience, you know that you can get results. So you have experience in the coach, you have experience in playing personnel, and you saw it. You saw it on the field of play. I was not surprised.
Yeah.
If anything, I was expecting, if there's a team that I'm expecting to do well in this World Cup, African team, these guys.
DR Congo, man, a team that never has disappointed me ever since, of course, I've been speaking about them and covering them in recent years. They've improved over the past few years. And one thing that Cox just mentioned is that they're getting that buy-in from the international players, and the youngsters out in Europe are looking to play for DR Congo. And I think that says something about the future that DR Congo is preparing for themselves. Cox, that's how we wrap up this edition of the World Cup show.
Yeah, man.
I'm looking forward to when the World Cup is over, because this show has to continue and we need to break down conversations around the PSL and all those things.
Yeah, I will always bring it back home. The best league in the world will
which is
starting on the 1st to 2nd of August. That's where the best league is coming back. And then 2 weeks after that, that's when you'll have the Motsepe Foundation. So yeah.
If you know anything about the best league in the world, is that the 1st and the 2nd of August might not be the actual dates we start. Might be that following week after that. Hey man, it's the PSL after all. But that's how we wrap it up. It is the World Cup show. Do catch us again next week. We do skip Thursday because once again, Bafana Bafana are playing on Thursday. So we will catch you guys once again on Tuesday. So do lock in right here on iDiski Time. We've got loads more coming up. Linda and Nigel are covering everything to do with the African teams in the World Cup. While of course, iDiski Dine, we continue with the normal routine, interviewing stars and breaking bread with them right here on iDiski Dine.